Hi, I'm Garmbreak1, and this is Midgardia's cool crowdfunding show. I'm here today with Richard Oxenham. How's it going?
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Nice
you
to be on
too.
the show.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell us about a little bit about? I have to ask, how is it pronounced? Is it Inspirisles, Inspirisles,
Yeah, the first one, Inspirisles. It's meant to
Inspirisles?
sort of, be one word off the tongue.
All right,
Yeah, exactly right first time.
all right.
Um, yeah, do you want to hear a bit about it? So it was started as a kind of family project between me and my partner and my friend who works in education, um, and he's interested in gamification of education and learning. And it sort of grew from a group I set up for teenagers in my local community, where we ran D&D for about a year and a half. And I wanted to create something sort of to honour them, really, the hatchlings as they're called. And and there was a few issues with Dungeons and Dragons about different people interacting in different ways and wanting different things from the session. So I wanted to create something that they could get involved with and have a hand in developing and play testing and so on and so forth. And at the same time, I work in a deaf institute in the UK, and I've been working there for over a decade now. And I run deaf awareness sessions in my community as well. And I wanted to combine the two things, my two sort of passions, so my work life and my hobby. And that's how Inspirisles came about. It was a game that teaches you sign language through the system of role playing.
Cool. And my understanding is you learn different science, and that's your like magical casting kind of thing. Is that about right?
Almost exactly what it is. Yeah. So it's used in spellcasting. Yeah. So you start off at different levels. We don't want to give everything away, but basically you begin at rank one and you do finger spelling in the alphabet, and you move all the way through the different systems. So greetings, different things like that, and then specific things to the spells and the items and the abilities you pick up. And you go all the way. We're about to unlock the American lexicon, which will mean us working with a prominent deaf ASL tutor who will give us sort of new invented signs specific to the world. And then the players, when they're the highest rank, can start creating their own words within the world.
Oh, that's super cool. It's I really like that kind of like gamification of learning, like you said. It's a good way to engage people and make them really think and remember it more so than like, hey, here's some flashcards, repeat this. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's the whole intention. The whole intention is to make learning a language fun. I mean, it would be the same for any other language. If you're learning Spanish or German or anything, like if you had it in the basis of a system of role playing or a tabletop role playing game, it would be automatically funner, I'm sure. And that's the kind of intention behind it. And we're really doubling down on the learning process.
yeah. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about the other mechanics of like how it handles the non-spellcasting elements?
So the main premise behind the game is kind of based on a few different things that I love in the media. One of them is a film I loved was Never Ending Story when I was a kid, and the premise behind that is that the world of Fantasia is kind of crumbling, and then Bastian, the main character in it, he has to believe in the characters and the world from this book that he finds in this antiques shop. And the whole premise behind Inspirisles was based on that. So the core theme and core mechanic is based on accumulating belief, and you can do that in any number of ways. As you have in a lot of tabletop role playing games, you have a kind of lists of ways you can earn it. So it's through the arts, it's through craft, it's through battle, it's through conversation, it's through performance, it's through a thing called dusting, where the players will travel back to Earth from the Fey realm, and try and convince people that are kind of cynical or they've lost a lot of faith that magic still exists and that this other realm is around. So yeah, that's the kind of premise. So beliefs at the heart of it, and that's kind of, if you took another sort of role playing example, that would be your currency, your experience, everything tied into one kind of material or energy.
Right. I like that. That's pretty cool. It's a very it's definitely distinct from your standard D&D hack and slash kind of gameplay.
Yeah, so there's that. So that's where it develops as well, because in a traditional role playing game, you often have injury and death and hit point reduction. In our game, there's no such thing as that. It's basically disbelief. It's called. So it's the counteracting force within the world. So if you say you enter an encounter with let's say it's a combat encounter, and you're trying to all you use is spells within combat. So it's things like fire and ice and the elements. Never meant to like do serious harm to your opponent, but you meant to kind of make them surrender, basically, so that you give them enough disbelief in their ability to win this encounter that they will surrender, and then and conversely, if they defeat you, you will earn disbelief. And the more disbelief you accumulate as a party or as a group of players, or foundlings as they call it in our world, the Grail Guide, who is our GM, will have a table called a Doom chart, and the disbelief will build up, and it will unlock kind of these Doom things, like the Questing Beast, which is an Arthurian kind of creature from mythology. It will sort of stalk the party across the islands.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so it's a lot of risk reward going on. It's a lot about spending your belief. But if you still lose the encounter, then you're likely to double your disbelief. And to go on further than that, at the end of the play session, which is called the quest day, you kind of add up how much belief you've earned and how much disbelief you earned. A bit like the Crystal Maze. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where you have to grab the gold tickets or the silver tickets.
I have not, but
It's just like a game show, but you have to, at the end you're this big sphere, and you have to kind of grab the gold tickets. But you've got a choice between grabbing everything or like being very deliberate about which color you get.
right.
So it's a similar thing, and you can use belief, whatever the sort of the balance between the two flips of the coin. You can use it to either rank up as a party, or you can buy cards for spells, items, and abilities.
Nice.
And
And
that's how you kind of progress.
yeah. And disbelief isn't just like negative belief, it's its own distinct like track or gauge.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So
All right.
these two things are kind of always at arms with each other, and the party really have to decide whether they want to rank up as a group or rank up as an individual, or save the world, basically, because it's going to these doom targets are going to get much worse, as you go down.
Right. I love that. I adore that kind of like doom chart thing.
Yeah.
So what's the target audience for this? Like, what age group are we kind of talking here?
Well, the thing is, I mean, we established Hatchlings as a tabletop group for teenagers. Basically, I work with local school children in my community, and I've always wanted to work with children in this sort of area, especially about education and gamification together. And so that's what the Hatchlings company and brand is about. But like all sort of tabletop games with a certain quirk to them, or quite decent sort of systems and things in place, that the adults can easily get involved, of course. And I realized after launching a Kickstarter that wasn't communicated perfectly. I mean, it's only in if you read the campaign page that you'd understand that adults are more than welcome to join it. Anyone likes these 80s fancy films would love it, of a certain age. This kind of nostalgic feeling of fantasy, when it's kind of quite magical, all this era.
Right.
Um, but in the video, it's kind of like a tabletop game for teenagers, and yeah. So it was my first Kickstarter. There's mistakes being made. There's things I've learned from it, and ways I do it better next time. Um, so yeah,
Well, everything's a learning process, unfortunately.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly, yeah.
so
And but mostly adults have backed it.
yeah,
It's doing really well. So I can't complain. I'm in shock, really.
yeah, it's doing pretty well. I'm just rapidly scrolling up the page to see the exact value.
Mm,
Uh, uh, oh geez, you've made what is that, 17 times your goal?
yeah.
Something like that. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it means that obviously I can pay the professional artist now because I established it all on my own art, and it probably enough to get it going. But I don't really want to see that throughout the whole book.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen a lot of books in my time with either art done by the non-artist creator, or
yeah,
in one particularly memorable case, pictures of action figures.
yeah. I mean, that's what I would have had to do if it had made the thousand or
I,
not,
I mean,
But
you do what you have to.
yeah, but now I've got a whole team of wonderful artists and layout designers, and so Ashley's doing our actual bespoke sign language symbols throughout the whole game, which is amazing.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
And speaking of first Kickstarter things you would do differently in the future, um, the reason a lot of people are probably clicking on this is there was some concern or possibly miscommunication about the availability of the upcoming American Sign Language supplement, I suppose. Could you talk
yeah,
a little on that?
yeah. So it was a little bit of well, after we launched, obviously the reward tiers. When you get to a certain reward tier, it says that all stretch goals unlocked at Guinevere level, which is about £45. Um, and we initially had that as an early bird deal, and you get a lot from that. But one of the things you get is that all the stretch goals, and all the stretch goals as we hit them were unlocking the American Sign Language content. So in other words, it meant that if you backed it below that tier, then you didn't get the American Sign Language version. But it perfectly communicated within the actual campaign page and with the stretch goals. So it was a little bit of back and forth. But the trouble was because it had such a massive boost at the beginning, and everyone was backing that Guinevere tier. We couldn't then tell all those people that you can just have the PDF because they'd unlocked the stretch goals, if that makes sense. They'd allowed us to go to the American audience and abroad through their backing. So it was a case of we couldn't backtrack to allow that now.
Right, and you feel it may be unfair if then the people who didn't back at the like physical fancy tier to get like the American stuff as well. Is that?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
yeah. We can let all the people, the 140 people that backed it at Guinevere and Arthur, as Arthur and the tiers above that, we couldn't just say, oh, you need to have the PDF, and then because we wouldn't have anything like we wouldn't have been able to unlock the tiers without that high level backing.
Right.
Because this project was meant to be just a BSL project, but we thought, what if we had a high stretch goal of like 10,000 and then 20,000, and then we can provide exactly the same for people abroad. But saying that, this is only the Kickstarter campaign. So after it's published, obviously on Drive Through RPG, the ASL and BSL versions will be the same price.
All right. You
It's
know,
just for the Kickstarter campaign,
all right.
just to raise funds. So yeah, so if you feel like backing us and you're passionate about the project and you're from the US, then yeah,
All right. Well, that's good to know. Um, because yeah, that was I've talked about this to a few of my friends who were interested in the
mm,
project, and that was kind of the one thing that kept coming up.
yeah.
Um,
We do feel that the Guinevere level is really good value for money though. I know it's a fair pledge, but you get the limited edition, you get the additional content, you get all the stretch goals that are unlocking now, you get a short story, you get an extra adventure, you get the lexicon, you know, the additional cards. There's a bunch of stuff you get with it. There's a lot
yeah,
of additional content.
yeah. Yeah. I think the main point of contention is just some people don't have the space for physical books. Like
Yeah, yeah,
even I have very few, and I do a lot of this stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. I think the only Kickstarter one I have is Sagas and Six Guns back there. Um, yeah. So why Arthurian mythology? I mean, the British Sign Language and Arthurian mythology connection is, I guess, the obvious one, but is there more to it than that?
My father was really into it. He read Mort Arthur. He showed me that Excalibur film version from the 1970s, I think it was, and I was way too young to watch it. It's got very adult sort of scenes in it and stuff. But I've just been very, very into Arthurian myth. since a very very young age. I love everything about it. I love the Celtic mythology. I love the kind of the idea of the Knights of the Round Table and all these things. I mean, before I was going to develop a kids game in the classroom, but for young kids, where you become a knight and you get like a crest of arms and things, and you do mathematics and you do like English and stuff, and you get certain marks, and you rank up, you get a new sword. So like everything was geared towards that, and obviously because it's Celtic related, I could bring in the whole Fey realm and stuff, and mythological creatures. So I've got knockers in it from Cornish mythology. I've got piskies or pixies from Cornish Irish mythology. I've got Bucca from Scotland, and these are the friends or races in the game. So yeah, it's pulling on a lot. One of the tasks in the game, I will give this away. One of the tasks in the game is that Excalibur, which is called Caliburn originally, is like in fragments, and the players, as like an end win state, have to kind of find all the fragments. But each fragment represents like a very powerful item within their card list. So each time they get a fragment and they forge it with the god Kilner, who's like a forge master, it starts to build that blade up. So the item becomes more and more powerful as you get each piece.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So there's everything. There's everything. There's Lady in the Lakes in it. Everything.
You mentioned Irish mythology. Do you have a dual hand somewhere in there?
Yeah, I've got a Dullahan. Yeah,
Oh
I've got the
yeah.
Nukkalavi, I think it's pronounced, which is a terrifying Norse Scottish mythology mixed thing, creature from the sea. But yeah, the Dullahans in there. Yeah, there's quite a few things that we're gonna give statistics to.
Right. And you said all of the combat is the like magic sign language stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Um so how well do you think players of lower ages, like I don't remember the British grade system, um but like the lower grades, like your fourth to sixth year of school, maybe, how do you think
Yeah,
they'd
I think 13. I think teenagers, like I said, it's aimed at
okay.
teens. So 13 onwards will be fine with it. Absolutely fine. And also remember that the sign language is optional, because we don't want to exclude anyone if they don't feel like they have you know the the impetus or the ability to maybe grasp it properly, and we don't want to exclude them from the game. So it's just an optional extra. For instance, it's on all the cards. So you say you get a fireball, then it would finger spell fire. In there, I'm not sure what in ASL is. I don't do ASL, but it's one handed. Uh, but yeah, they finger spell it out at like rank one, but it will grow and grow and grow. So they do the word for fire eventually, and then they will combine with another player, and say they wanted some sort of like grappling vines around a creature. Someone would do that earth spell, like vines, and then fire, set it on fire. So they use a combination of cards. They can both lay a card down.
I really
So
like that.
that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, because one of the things that frustrated me about the hatchlings groups is that we had a 2.5 hour session every fortnight, and probably an hour of it, or maybe an hour and 20 minutes, was just in the combat rounds. And it got so frustrating eventually, because I don't mind like kind of like elaborating on the combat and kind of making it interesting, but it was just so ponderous sometimes. And with Inspirisles, we want to make it a combination system, so people can throw in cards and defeat something of a higher level, even if they use a combination. And also, there's not a hit point system either. It's done on disbelief, so it goes all the way from doubtful if you're a very high level creature with 5 hits, to surrendering, which is the lowest level. So nothing's got more than 5 attack rounds, basically.
Right. Ah, I like that. That's really cool. Um, and I do like that it works without sign language as well, in case, as you kind of,
Yeah,
if you need to like ease your players into it. But
yeah. I mean, we have to make it optional. Definitely, yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Doing ASL streams is something that we've talked about on Midgardia for like years, but none of us are
Right. Okay.
quite fluent enough.
Yep.
Um, I mean, most of us aren't even remotely fluent. I'm not,
No.
but I think this kind of thing would be a wonderful tool.
Yeah, hopefully it will give you a really good grasp of the greetings from the alphabet all up to word use and combination words. And
Yeah,
your own lexicon is something that very few people have done. And we're working with a really prominent BSL tutor and ASL tutor, so that would be amazing because they're the people that have they're both deaf, so they're the people that will know how the words work. Because I started off making it as a fifth edition module, and then quickly realised there's no way I could fit any of this into that format. But we had like things like beholder, like, and a couple of signs like this, and we were coming up with all interesting things. But yeah, but this was what these tutors will come up with. They'll come up with things for the questing beast and for the knuckle, for the Dullahan and things. Be really interesting.
right. And it's going to add some sense of mystery to the players as well, because if you do that hand gesture, they're not immediately going to know
Yeah,
Beholder.
yeah.
They might have an inkling, but they're still going to
Mm.
have to do the research and then go, oh shoot.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to highlight about the project while you're here?
Just to thank the backers, basically. I mean, it's wonderful. I would never, none, my partner Catherine didn't expect anything like this reception we've got, and it's really exciting to think that that a project that started with the opportunity to maybe go into schools and colleges with this format and teach bridge that gap between the language as an introduction. Now to maybe take it to the entire tabletop community is extraordinary, really. I mean, now we're talking to all sorts of people. Now we're talking to schools, to educational establishments. We're talking to some chap from Poland, another guy from Australia who wants to localize it in their language and across Europe. So it is expanding. I think it's because it's such a unique concept, and I just want to thank the backers for their passion about the idea of it, and it'll be worth it in the end when it's published because it'll look amazing and it will play really well.
Yeah, it's been a rocky road so far.
Yeah,
I've read the comments, but that's how it goes sometimes. And
yeah.
yeah,
As I said, it's my first Kickstarter, we didn't mean to exclude anyone, but it was just we needed to get to those stretch goals, as I said, and the only way we could do that is with a higher backing from our US section.
yeah. So you mentioned an Australian looking to localize that. Is that something you're looking to do long term, like sign language for various other countries? I don't know how many variations there are. I assume a ton.
Every country's got a different sign language, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the trouble with it is, and I would like to do it because it would be brilliant if I could expand it into different regions and different countries. But which ones do you pick? For instance, for a start, two, I'm quite loyal to my artist who's doing all the sign language, and it would completely overwhelm them to having to do all these signs, and it would basically be their career, and they'd have to choose whether to accept that or not. I don't know. So the other option is to let their own art teams take over, but then I'd lose a little bit of the core spirit of the game, I feel.
Right.
So it's a big decision, but I wouldn't want to do it for a couple of years anyway. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Because I've got another idea that I want to expand upon this one with and launch a better Kickstarter and yeah, really double down on the sort of language use. I won't give too much away because
Well,
it's it's another year off, but it's exciting. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to interviewing you about that one too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that about covers it. The art is fantastic. I don't think I said that. It's I dig the Celtic feel a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stained glass portraits of Guinevere and Arthur, and yeah, no, it's real
Yeah,
good.
thanks. Yeah, Josh is an amazing knot artist, absolutely incredible artist in his own right. And check the page on Monday because you'll be getting new characters from Lucille. You'll be getting a new Kilner and a new set of knockers on the page to replace my substitute art. But yeah, so yeah,
Well, all right, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks a lot for coming on. This looks like a hell of a project, and it's nice to see stuff like this, you know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing up by the new year, and it's going to be a lovely process.
Oh yeah, the estimated delivery date is what is that? January 2021. That's, yeah, not far.
Yep, yep.
Obviously possible delays because of everything, but
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, the only potential delays which would delay the project is our video recording for the video tutorials, because the studio is still not open.
right,
Uh,
yeah.
but
It's
we'll let the backers know, obviously.
yeah.
That's the-
Yeah. Yeah, this has been a ton of fun. Anything else you'd like to say before we call it a day?
No, just continue to back it. We've got 8 days left, and we'll get those books out to you in the new year, and the PDFs on the drive through as well.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. This has been a very fun chat.
Thanks so much. Really nice speaking to you.
Same to you, sir. And for those of you watching at home, have a good night.
Bye bye.